of owning a cafe and other heroic deeds by Beware the Tristero. Chapter 91. August, 2 years later. The last week of summer vacation was just as lively as ever.
Shoni, Ray-san has made more ice for the outside tubs so we can have the other watermelons, please. Rooney says they're best when they're icy, and she promised not to split any with her karate kicks after last time.
Only now this Saturday was going to see the fruition of 2 years' worth of careful planning, investigation, and evidence collection, with the arrest of Todoroki Enji and the safe retrieval of his children.
Well, that's a relief. They're lined up on the back bench in the kitchen. Just watch your wet sandals so you don't slip with them, alright? Oh, and can you tell everyone in the paddling pools to dry off, put on some sunscreen, and stay under the parasols for a while? No one is getting sunburned on my watch, okay?
For in a kind of sting operation created by the master tacticians of their community, the flame-bearded bastard had been invited to a mixed martial arts event in Tokyo, an event that he, Takeo, and his tots were similarly entered.
You got it, Cat Dad.
There was no way that Todoroki would be able to tell anything was amiss because the competition was legitimate, and this kind of tournament happened around the country, the world, at various parts of the year, too. With Endeavor being a fanatic, of course the Pricket accepted. He'd entered all 4 of his children into the tournament as well. And this, they believed, would be the quickest and easiest way to have multiple pros in the area with law enforcement and child protective services without the bastard knowing. The last thing they needed was for him to catch wind of what they were up to. Worse still, trying to ambush him at his house could lead to the children getting hurt and mass property damage besides. Plus, this way, Ray and Dabi could be kept in a back room to watch what was happening, their forms waiting to greet and soothe the children as they were ferreted them away from their father, whilst the police force and actual heroes moved in to subdue Endeavor if necessary.
Show boss, I've just finished cleaning the toilets. Anna, what can I do for you now, man?
God, he could hardly believe that they were this close to reuniting the fractured biological family. Ray had come a long way since their first meeting 2 years ago in October, and just as they'd hoped, she'd been eventually cleared to leave the ward Todoroki had dumped her in. In fact, she'd been living very happily with Mimi-chan for 11 months. She came to the cafe almost every day, used the study area to complete online courses to improve her job prospects, and fawned over her oldest child, Tomra, and the rest of them, of course.
You can go on your break, Jizome. I've splitted up your favorite onigiri with a cup of iced chai and a slice of Angel's food cake, okay? They're on the top shelf of the chiller, and I want you to sit down and enjoy them, alright? It's too hot to be charging around, especially since you'll be busy later, you know?
The reunion between her, Mitsuki, and Inko had been heartwarming and heartbreaking in equal measure, and now the ice quirk user finally free, all restrictions across her life virtually gone, there was nothing to stop her. She was brighter, stable, and determined to take her husband to court to make him pay for the many crimes he'd committed against her and her children. He thoroughly believed that with the justice they were working hard to grant them all, she'd have enough money for a fresh start for all of them after the divorce was finished. You're so good to me, show boss. Thank you. I'm gonna need all my strength for when I'm sparring with Yagi-senpai and the others later, aren't I? Which would get her one step closer to having her 3 youngest living with her, enabling them to heal together for, although he'd discussed it with his mother, the Nodonaga was Dabi's home, and neither he or Tomura were planning to leave the nest anytime soon as they plowed through their digital art and video game courses. He was very glad about that.
Shoni! Atsuhiro-san would like some more lemonade, please. Oh, and he says thank you for the yummy chocolate cake you made for him yesterday. He and Maraiji really enjoyed it.
Not that they were the only people sticking around and putting down metaphorical roots. Mr. Compress, true to his promise, had completely turned his life around, and turned the head of a certain future seer as well. They'd been dating for just under a year, and things seemed to be going really well for them.
Tell him that I just need to whip up another match, Izuku. Are you having fun out there? Don't forget to put some more sunblock on your freckles, okay?
Similarly, Inka was back on the dating scene. She'd not met a man solid enough to bring home and introduce to the community and a son yet. However, to see her happier, enjoying life, and getting out there was wonderful. This meant that he and his boys were babysitting Izuku and Katsuki more often these days as the 3 reunited best friends finally took more time for themselves. He and his family were beyond happy to oblige, of course.
What? Yeah, I will. Thanks, Cat Dad.
Plus, thanks to having Chizume around, he and Toshinori have been able to spend more quality time together as well. Sure, there were still villains to fight and customers to feed. However, they'd not let that stop them, and now, over 100 dates later, he was feeling pretty damn good about being in a relationship and feeling treasured. Feeling loved in a way that went beyond familial ties. Enjoying nicknames, kissing, and more than that. Who'd have ever thought? Regarding his best friend, his golden eyes soft, Sasaki Mirai shook his head and leaned back in his executive leather chair, a wry chuckle leaving him.
It has been 2 years, Toshi. I genuinely don't know what you're worrying about,
he admitted mildly as the man paced inside his office like a caged tiger. The powerhouse always did this to calm his nerves, and it wasn't as though it caused him any mither or concern, not at all. However, to see his friend agonizing over such a thing was just a little maddening.
But what if he says no? I mean, I couldn't take him away from the cafe. He loves it too much, and sure, he could rent out the apartment, and all of them could come and live with me at the beach house. But would you want to? It'd be impractical for me to live at the cafe with them, wouldn't it?
Toshinori
Can't barely get into the doors, and I've not told him about One for All yet, or how it's passed down either. Should I bring that up first? Would it...
Toshinori!
It freaks him out. I know he wouldn't care about me being quirkless, but one day I'll have to pass it on, won't I? What will that do to my body? What would he accuse me of if I wanted to approach one of the study group? Would I be able to approach one of them? That looks so duplicitous, doesn't it?
Hush him!
Watching as the man stopped, he let a sigh.
Just take a second to breathe,
he told him, his eyes then moving from his best friend to the little red leather box which contained a simple gold engagement ring that he knew Shouta would love, his smile fond.
Look, I can't answer all of those burning questions you have, and I sure as hell can't advise you about the responsibility of the power you wield,
he offered with a light shrug.
However, as your friend, I'd suggest that you don't make a spectacle of asking him. And I'd also say that asking him can wait until Endeavor is safely in custody,
he stated, his brows furrowing.
This week or so is going to be busy, to say the least,
he murmured.
Plus, he'll be wanting to help and support the Todorokis as much as he can.
Yes, I know that, and I'll support him, all of them, too. I just thought that maybe asking him now would be better.
The broader male sighed, his shoulders slumping.
And maybe it's irrational of me, but before everything kicks off, I wanted him and the boys to have, you see, I have no idea what I'm doing.
He groaned, and laughed snorting. He waved for the man to take the seat across from his desk, his smile warm.
You're in love with him, Toshinori,
he soothed the other, all but collapsing into the chair.
And because you're a protector, because you're a guardian, you want to support and protect him and his family, your family. It's only natural,
he reasoned, their eyes locking.
However, I would caution you about wanting to push things too fast and too soon,
he warned, the sunlight streaming through the windows glinting off of his glasses.
He is independent, forthright, and dedicated to his family, and so perhaps instead of sitting here and asking me for advice, why not approach his boys, he asked. That way you can see how they'd feel about potentially living elsewhere, and see how they'd feel about you becoming an official father figure, because ultimately it may be your life and Shota's life coming together in a more formal way, but he is the official guardian to 3 boys, and more besides,
he mused, watching as the other deflated further. He felt his mouth close. So much for trying to cheer him up. However, there was no getting away from their favorite eatery owner's responsibilities. Hell, even if he would live elsewhere, he'd still want to be in the Northern Echo 6 days of the week, regardless of having Tomoko and Chizome there, and he'd still want to run his self-defense lessons, wouldn't he? Plus, when the press found out about their engagement, that would make having privacy so much more difficult, wouldn't it? The cafe could become overrun by fanatics, stalkers, and goodness only knew what else. Villains might decide to try their luck and go after the eraser quirk user for ransom or revenge. That was a whole lot for them to consider, wasn't it? If Shouta was just some ordinary man or pro without so many people being dependent on him, then things of course would be different. However, He couldn't imagine the raven-haired philanthropist without his family, without his community, and he was sure that all the people who depended on him would feel the same. There had to be some way to... Wait. What if... He began, his fingers playing with and twirling his favorite stamp.
What if instead of you moving them out of the area, you moved in?
He hummed, their eyes logging.
There are several apartments for sale which directly overlook the Northern Echo, and at those prices, you could buy up a few, knock down the walls, and make them into an ideal living space.
He mused, the stamp flipping in the air before he caught it, his smile broadening.
You've never been happy in that flashy penthouse, Toshi, and you could use the beach house as a little getaway for the pair of you, right?
He furthered, the other's brows rising.
This way, Shouta would still be with his community, and better still, so would you. You'd be a proper part of it, and no journalist in their right mind would ever think that you'd choose to live there, which would keep the area safe twice, because no villain would think of looking for you in that area either. But you'd be there if they did, right?
Watching as the other man gasped, his crestfallen look rapidly brightening, Mirai allowed himself to chuckle.
That's a great idea!
I am known to be full of those, Nat.
Bobby wasn't quite sure what had made him blink away from where he was diligently shaping a new batch of onigiri, but for some strange reason, bulldozers suddenly came to mind.
You all right?
Blinking, his gaze slanting to his partner, the flame quirk user chuckled.
Yeah, I'm fine.
He offered, the other's crimson gaze narrowing at him a touch.
Fine, he says.
The pale-haired teen chuffed.
It's fine not to be, you know.
He reminded.
I mean, you've got to have a lot on your mind, right?
He furthered, his task done as he approached him, his expression soft and shoulder briefly nudging his.
Just remember that I'm here when you want to talk, all right?
He murmured before kissing his cheek and walking out of the kitchen to present the customers with the final part of their lunch order. Turning his head to watch the other leave, the scarred male sighed before boxing up 3 portions of the rice-based food he had a flair for making, and beginning a new set exactly how Shouta had taught him, his eyes staring at the spotlessly clean wall with its laminated health and safety posters and 5-star inspector's report. It wasn't as though he didn't want to talk about Saturday, but what was there to say? How could he put the culmination of so much planning into words? He didn't want to admit how nervous he was. What if his siblings hated him for leaving? What if they resented him for abandoning them? What if they demanded to know why it had taken him so long to save them? What would he say to that? No, what could he say to that? Sorry guys, I was having too much fun being loved, feeling valued, and putting my shit together to help you. Fuck that.
Take a breath. It's alright. I'm right behind you, okay?
Blinking, he realized that his hands were shaking. His quirk wasn't active, thank God. But his eyes were blurry, and Sho was gently rubbing at his back with the same firm, reassuring pressure he used with the Smalls when they were upset.
Go sit down on the stools with me.
The other murmured soothingly.
You've been on your feet and working yourself up since you woke up this morning, haven't you?
Having had a laugh, he allowed his guardian to maneuver him towards the back bench where he, Tomura, and Hitoshi ate their breakfasts every morning and sighed out a quiet, "You're one to talk, you crazy nut soul, okay?" Then, when they were sat, the life flowing within the cafe, washing in from the herb-encrusted service house window, he allowed the older man to continue rubbing the tension from his back and shoulders.
It's natural to be nervous, and it's only right that you have concerns over this weekend.
The still broader eatery owner murmured to him softly.
Yeah, before you get worried about anything else, Tomer is fine. He knows that you're stressed, and he genuinely doesn't mean to push you, alright? He just wants to make sure you're as okay as you can be.
He offered gently.
I know,
he replied quietly. And I want to talk to him, to all of you. I just...
It'll come in time.
Shouta carefully cut in, the strong rhythmic rubbing helping to ground him, helping to make him feel centered.
Now, I think I can handle the rest of the onigiri, so why don't you either head upstairs for a break or a nap, and I'll come up to you when Spitter comes by with Keigo, okay? You still want to go to the pier with them, Rumi, Tomura, and Ryuko, right?
Nodding in angel style, stretching his lips, Davi allowed the other to help him up, the lively sounds of cafe life, a calming backdrop to their hug. You always know just what to do and say, don't you, huh?
I'm glad you think so.
The eraser quirkers are effed.
Now go on and have one of my jelly drinks before you put your head down, alright? You need to give your electrolytes up.
Gathering his friends around him under the shade of the parasols Shoni had provided for them, Hitoshi regarded him the best friends he could possibly have as they ate slices of freshly sliced watermelon, a purple crayon in hand, and a sheet of A3 paper sat in the middle of the circle they had made, their damp forms set on towels atop the astroturf.
Okay.
He stated, the hot air ghosting over them, whilst Rumini and Ryugoni splashed around in the paddling pool, the 18-year-olds enjoying a childhood they never got to have, whilst Jindan soaked in the largest pool, his t-shirt and shorts completely sodden, as the three of them sang along to a pop song rippling out of the MP3 player his Aishini had given them.
The Todorokis,
he said.
They are going to need a lot of help, a lot of support, and a lot of understanding, right?
He furthered.
So, Dabini and the other adults are going to have their hands full, right?
Well, yeah, Katsuki nodded. Nezuji said they'd have counselors and everything at UA, though, right? We can help them when they come here, can't we? The blonde stated. What can we do before then, Net?
I'm glad you asked, Gauchad,
the iris-haired boy said while sharing a look with Izuku.
because that's exactly what I've been wondering too, and after talking with Tomoni, me and Deku have come up with some ideas for each of them that we want to run by you and ask you to help with.
He ventured, his crayon jotting some things down.
Now, not to be sexist, but Ocho-chan and Tsu-chan, we were hoping that you would look into making a care package for Fuyumi since, well, as girls, you'll probably have a better idea about what her worries will be, and well, since we don't know many of the middle schoolers, since Tamaki-senpai and Mirio-senpai are closer to her age, we were hoping that you'd help them talk to some of those nice girls who come to the cafe from Hibushi Middle School.
He advised whilst tearing off a piece of paper he'd written on and passing it to them. You can count on us, Thershikin, the brunette stated with a nod that Tsuyugabi was like, kibble, as the indigo-haired boy, after a swallow, said, I'll do my best. It'll be scary, but nothing compared to what Japanese brothers and sisters have gone through, he admitted whilst his blonde best friend gave him a hug that had him blushing.
Great.
The violet-eyed child smiled, his grand now writing more things down under the headings of Natsuo and Shoto.
But we'll also need your help with Natsuo since he's only a year older than you guys, okay?
He furthered, his hand momentarily stopping when the pair nodded their understanding.
He should be easier to help at least.
He sighed, his lips pulling into a small frown that his friends copied.
From everything Dabini has said, that flaming trash can has mainly been training Shoto.
He huffed, his eyes narrowing slightly. I hope Shoni and Toshinori-ji bumped him into space or something, Eiichiro grumbled. I mean, we work hard, we train hard, and look at how awesome we are, he said, his eyes casting around the best people he knew. There's, no need to be cruel, he stated, his teeth gritting together until Katsuki and Denki placed calming hands upon his warm shoulders. You're right, Izuku breathed, his little face determined. But remember what Shoni says. We can't do anything about the past, only the future, he reminded, all of them nodding. However, that's where our training comes in, he reasoned, the others blinking at him. We figure that they'll all be angry and frightened, he clarified. And as sad as it is, all of them, but more than likely Shoto, will need to work out that anger. Probably physically, he said, their eyes widening. That's why Kachan and Eiji, as the best fighters out of all of us, we think that sparring is something you can offer him, he mused. But in the meantime, this is what we think we should put together for them as care packages, he announced while Satoshi shared out the paper. Upon each, just like Fuyumi's, were lists of what they thought each kid should have to help them adjust to lives where they wouldn't be trapped inside a house all of the time. From what they'd all gathered from Dabi and his mother, their lives had been boiled down to an existence where they were trapped. They'd been tutored at home. They'd had meals brought to them by servants. They didn't have social media accounts or friends. And so even though they were returning to Japan, they'd not known what life outside the walled garden that bracketed their house like high prison walls was. Oh, yeah, this is a great idea, Denki grinned. I can get maps of Musitafa from my mom so we won't need to spend money on printing them off ourselves. Oh, and I bet Dad can get some fun branded notebooks to use as journals. I bet writing out their feelings and other stuff will help them a bunch. You two are so smart. Yeah, great work, guys, Katsuki affirmed, his eyes scanning over the list. Wait, we should probably get them something personal too, We've all been so lucky. We've all got posters, toys, and things we probably don't use anymore, so maybe we can pull those things together for them, just like we did for Naito, right? That way they can decorate their dorms, because, well, I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but
Based on what Racy had told my mom about the house she was stuck in, well, there were no toys or fun things. Just minimalist crap. He huffed. It must have been like growing up in a museum or something. He added, his arms crossed angrily. Damn, helping them all to be kids is gonna be hard, isn't it?
I can vouch for that. I don't know what I would have done without you guys, you know?
The blonde copy quirk user admitted, his body leaning into Hitoshi's when he offered him a hug.
Well, with friends like these, I bet we can make it a great deal easier for them, just like we did for you, Nene-kun, you know?
Meteor cheered, his sunny disposition instantly lightening the mood.
You guys are so incredible, right? Look at the difference you've made, even with me and Tamaki. Look at the difference you've made in each other, he advised, his blue eyes shining. Between all of us, our older brothers and sisters, and Mrs. Well, it won't be easy or quick, but I believe we can do it, he praised. So come on, guys, hands in!
Giggling, their hands overlapping each other at the center of the circle they'd made under the parasols outside of the Nordico, their plates of watermelon nearly finished. The oldest member of the group pushed their hands slightly down before they threw them up together.
Link of Cafe! Yeah!